You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Donald Trump rules out tariffs rollback, indicates new tariffs on smartphones and computers soon, says scrutinizing semiconductors and electronic supply chains as part of national security tariff investigations. Zelensky urges Trump to visit Ukraine to see devastation after Russian strike in Sumy kills 34. US President calls incident horrible and a mistake. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of new terminal building at Hisar's Maharaja Agrasen Airport in Haryana, flags off commercial flight connecting holy city of Ayodhya. And bank defaulter and fugitive businessman Mehul Choksi arrested in Belgium on India's extradition request, centre hails development. Good afternoon to all of you who are joining us at this afternoon broadcast, DD India News Hour. To begin with the latest from the United States. Now, US President Donald Trump is doubling down on his trade war with China, warning that no country will be getting off the hook when it comes to tariffs. In a social media post, Donald Trump clarified his stance on recently announced tariff exemptions for certain electronics like smartphones and laptops, stating that they will be short-lived. Now, meanwhile, the battle over tariffs escalates with significant economic consequences as well. Here's a report.
In a fiery message on Truth Social, Trump retaliated that the exemptions, which were seen as a break for tech giants like Apple and Dell, will be temporary. He added that the US is focusing on a national security trade investigation into key industries like semiconductors and electronics. Trump said he will be announcing the tariff rate on imported semiconductors over the next week.
The tariffs will be in place in the not distant future because, as you know, like we did with steel, like we did with automobiles, like we did with aluminum, which are now fully on, we'll be doing that with semiconductors, with chips, and numerous other things. And that'll take place in the very near future.
In an interview with the US media network, White House trade advisor Peter Navarro said that US has opened an invitation to China to negotiate, but criticized its role in the fentanyl supply chain. He also mentioned that China was not included in talks with 7 other entities: the UK, EU, India, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, and Israel. Critical technology products from China would face separate new duties along with semiconductors within the next 2 months.
Remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming. So you're going to see this week there'll be a register in the Federal Registry. There'll be a notice put out. That is different types of work. So we're going to do that. We did that in autos. The president's going to do it for pharmaceuticals, and he's going to do it for semiconductors.
Tariffs tango has hit the global markets rather hard. The S&P 500 index is down more than 10% since Trump took office, with analysts warning of a potential recession. With tensions high and markets on the edge, the trade war between the US and China shows no signs of abating, and markets may continue to witness extreme volatility in weeks ahead. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
Well, it's been a chaotic few days for the global economy and especially for the markets. US President started a trade war over a week ago, escalated with China and called off the rest, and with the markets around the world now getting closer to where they started off before all the drama. Many are wondering what exactly happened. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Good afternoon, Lars. What is the latest word from Europe?
Thanks for having me. Well, I've heard many words depicting Donald Trump, his chaotic trade announcements, the market's behavior. Many of these words I don't think we can mention on TV, but let me tell you that Europe, much like the rest of the world, has gone through some hectic days with huge market swings, with the EU Global Trade Commission holding an emergency meeting to figure out how to counter Trump's actions before it all, of course, got called off. Now, while there's a bit more calm in the market, analysts said no matter that tariffs have now been pushed off, the damage is already done. Let me quote Mohammed El-Arian of Allianz, the German financial and insurance giant. He says markets need Trump to also cancel the 10% in base tariffs that he has left his trading partners with. As for George Savarelos of Deutsche Bank in Frankfurt, he says Trump has shown the world that he moves fast and in totally unpredictable ways. Not a stretch here. After all, Trump was contradicting himself all the time last week. And he says that can only lead to one thing now. Everyone will make the strategic decision to become less dependent on business with the United States, just to be a bit more protected from such irrational moves in future.
And looking ahead at the next 90 days, what are the analysts expecting so far?
They're not very optimistic in terms of going back to business as usual. As a matter of fact, Mr. El-Arian here from Allianz says that the 90 days push-off will obviously give companies some breathing room. They don't have to rush to save costs and possibly even cut jobs, but that they're caught in limbo. Companies need a long-term strategy in terms of manufacturing, but also what markets to deliver to or what suppliers in which countries to source from. Much of what companies, not only in Germany and the EU, but elsewhere too, much of what they have built up over decades has been shaken to its core. And while nobody knows whether or not tariffs are coming back, what business sectors will be protected or which sectors might be punished especially hard, many can't plan their business going forward. To just take this weekend's back and forth over tech tariffs too, with the US canceling tariffs on cell phones and chips from China, and then on Sunday announcing that they're likely coming back in a month or two. In the end, that's what I heard from many analysts here, this is expected to weigh heavy on the entire European economy. It slows things down, and it will end up costing us in terms of GDP growth.
And what is the long-term outlook? What do you expect to see as the outcome of all this trade trouble, Lars?
Well, from what I'm hearing, there's two scenarios. One is the optimistic scenario where the US will actually make some trade deals pretty much at the levels seen before this whole circus blew up. It's not an unrealistic scenario because we do know that Donald Trump is more than anything a showman. He would likely be more than happy to present any deal, even if it's just a rewrite of an old deal, and he would present it as a win, and that's it for him. Trade would then go on likely as before. The other scenario is that Trump will further escalate not only the trade war with China, but that he also can't reach a deal with others, including the EU. And then we're going to see the same tariffs go into effect in 3 months. And that's why some analysts are warning people not to necessarily see last week's lows as the bottom for markets. Markets will be volatile. The whole situation right now is pretty much up in the air. That's pretty much the only thing people really agree on.
All right. Thank you so much, Lars, for joining us from DW Berlin and bringing us the latest. Now, US President Donald Trump said on Sunday that he expects to make a quick decision on Iran following what both Washington and Tehran described as positive and constructive nuclear talks in Oman last week. Trump further said he had consulted his advisors and was weighing options, reiterating his warning of a possible military action if no agreement is reached to halt Iran's nuclear program. Talks are set to resume later this week. And Iran's foreign ministry has said that talks with the United States slated for next weekend would remain indirect with Omani mediation and will be focused solely on the nuclear issue, lifting of sanctions as well. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff held a first round of talks on Saturday in Muscat, marking the highest level Iran-US nuclear negotiations since the collapse of a 2015 accord. Another round of talks will be held on the 19th of April. The American news agency reported that the talks will be held in Rome this time. Moving on, a Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Sumy on Sunday killed at least 34 people and injured 117 others. The attack has been strongly condemned by Kyiv's Western allies. US President Donald Trump called the incident a horrible thing and a mistake. The Russian attack came just 2 days after Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, visited Moscow for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin as part of efforts to end the ongoing conflict.
I think it was terrible, and I was told they made a mistake, but I think it's a horrible thing. I think the whole war is a horrible thing. I think the war is, for that war to have started, is an abuse of power. This country would have never allowed that war to have started if I were president. That war is a shame.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday called for a strong international response to Russia's missile strike as US President Donald Trump's push to end the conflict continues to face hurdles. In an interview to America's CBS News, Zelensky urged Donald Trump to witness the real impact of the conflict on civilians, soldiers, hospitals, churches and children before making decisions or entering negotiations with Moscow. Whereas a number of European leaders posted support for Ukraine on social media after the Russian strike on Sumy city. European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen condemned the attack, while other leaders like French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed solidarity for the victims and their families. Foreign ministers of European nations gathered in Luxembourg on Monday to attend European Union Foreign Affairs Summit with Ukraine, the Middle East, European Union-Africa relations and the Western Balkans on the agenda. On Ukraine, the EU foreign ministers are expected to discuss contribution to the so-called Callus Plan that involves spending €5 billion on 2 million rounds of large-caliber artillery ammunition this year. In discussions on the Middle East, the foreign ministers will also focus on the situations in Gaza and Syria. In addition, European Union foreign ministers will also discuss the current situation in the Western Balkans and cooperation with the region's countries. Now, European Union-Africa relations will also be discussed ahead of the ministerial meeting in Brussels in the month of May, which will bring together over 80 governments from the African Union and the European Union. The conflict in Sudan, which has triggered one of the world's worst humanitarian crises with more than 15 million forcibly displaced individuals, will also be on the table. Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrives in Vietnam, marking the start of his three-nation Southeast Asia trip. Criminal trial of South Korea's ousted leader Yoon Suk-yeol began on Monday on insurrection charges. And up next, we'll get you the latest update on Daniel Noboa, who claims victory in Ecuador presidential election.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's get you the biggest update from the nation. Fugitive businessman Mehul Choksi has been arrested in Belgium on India's extradition request for his role in the PNB bank loan fraud case, a development that comes weeks after media reports confirmed that the businessman is living in country's Antwerp city with his wife after obtaining a residency card in there. Now, Indian agencies, the Enforcement Directorate and the Central Bureau of Investigation or the CBI moved for his extradition from Belgium. India's Union Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary, also said that this arrest is a significant achievement in investigations against those who stole money from the poor. Take a listen.
मोदी जी ने जो पहले ही कहा कि गरीबों का पैसा जिन जिन लोगों ने खाया है उसको वापस करना होगा, और देश में सभी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई चल रहा है। मेहुल चोक्सी पकड़ा गया है, निश्चित तौर से एक बहुत बड़ी सफलता है।
Now, the 65 years old fugitive diamond merchant left India on the 2nd of January in the year 2018. Mehul Choksi is wanted by the CBI ED for defrauding PNB of 13,850 crore rupees. His nephew Nirav Modi was also involved with him in the fraud case, and as the fraud was revealed on the 25th of January in 2018, Choksi obtained fraudulent letters of undertaking from PNB. Choksi and Nirav Modi accessed credit without collateral, and then Choksi fled India and took refuge in Antigua. He then acquired citizenship in Antigua and Barbuda in 2017, and in the year March 2023, Interpol revoked the red notice against Choksi, after which Choksi relocated to Belgium from Antigua in 2024. 2 weeks back, Mehul Choksi obtained a residency card in Belgium, and Choksi was arrested in Belgium on the 12th of April this year. Choksi was arrested by Belgium's law enforcement authorities on the request of India's CBI. Choksi's nephew, Nirav Modi, was arrested in London back in the year 2019 in the month of May. Well, Nirav Modi has exhausted all legal avenues for extradition but continues to be in the United Kingdom's jail so far. And now we'll also get your latest update on what is the current progress that we are tracking on this with my colleague Akshay Dongre, who would be joining us from New Delhi and taking us through the important aspects. Now, Akshay, his lawyer says that they will file a request that allows himself to defend while he stays in detention. What is the latest that we are tracking on this, Akshay?
Well, Deepika, the latest that we are tracking on Mehul Choksi is the fact that after the arrest, Mehul Choksi shows his own intentions that the next legal remedy that he will be taking will be based on the health grounds. Now, this is coming in from the sources in Belgium as well as in the investigative agencies, that the next probable step that can be taken by the lawyers of Mehul Choksi can be citing his health reason to not extradite him. However, the case is strong enough against Mehul Choksi that the Enforcement Directorate and CBI and the income tax have all been, in fact, making, if the case is watertight, then the kind of evasion that Mehul Choksi is planning for may not work in Belgium. However, we have to also take into account that after the legal remedies are all exhausted in Belgium, only then the extradition process can begin. And even though he has been arrested, the Enforcement Directorate and the other financial watchdogs in India will have to keep on pressing for his extradition. But nevertheless, this is in fact a major success for the Indian investigation so far in the financial irregularities and defrauding cases against Mehul Choksi and Nirav Modi. And while Nirav Modi remains in the UK, Mehul Choksi has been on the run from one country to another, and as you have rightly mentioned that he was, after acquiring citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda, had moved to Belgium because his wife is a citizen of Belgium, and that perhaps has been the reason why Mehul Choksi has been seeking a residency there as well. So as of now, the Indian agencies will be collaborating with the Belgium authorities that have arrested Mehul Choksi because of the cases that are going on against him here in India. But it remains to be seen that what kind of legal remedies and evasion that he will be planning now in the next few days to evade the authorities here, so that the extradition cannot happen. But a watertight case, a strong case, is the need of the hour against Mehul Choksi, so that his evasive tactics do not work in the country.
And what happens next once he's brought back to India, Akshay?
Well, after the long extradition process, that is going to take some time. So people will have to be patient along with the authorities, because the law will take its own due course of time. But once he is brought here, he will be trialed under the PMLA Act, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The Enforcement Directorate and CBI have already registered cases against him. So the investigation will begin, that who all were part of this entire defrauding of the Punjab National Bank that has been defrauded to a tune of about 14,000 crore rupees. Now that's a huge amount that has been defrauded by by Mehul, Choksi and Nirav Modi. So after all of that is done, then we can also expect court inquiries into how he was able to bring these fake letters of approval by the banks, along with how was he able to escape from India, and who all were part of this entire nexus, whether these two were working on their own or whether they had a larger group, any political affiliations that were also involved in this entire scam that has taken place that took place several years back, and still the investigations are going on.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and bringing us the latest information on this huge development. Moving on. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Vietnam, marking the start of his three-nation Southeast Asia trip. Now, Xi called for stronger cooperation with Vietnam in industrial and supply chains and wider collaboration in emerging fields. He also urged strengthening coordination and cooperation through regional initiatives such as the East Asia Cooperation and the Lansing-Mekong Cooperation. He further called such efforts necessary to inject more stability and positive energy into a chaotic and intertwined world. Now, the criminal trial of South Korea's ousted leader Yoon began on Monday over charges that he led an insurrection when he declared martial law late last year and plunged the country into months of turmoil. Yoon sought to impose military rule on the country when he ordered the suspension of political activity and the censorship of media on the 3rd of December last year. The decree lasted just 6 hours, however, as it was voted down by the opposition MPs then. He was removed by the Constitutional Court from the office earlier this month for violating constitutional powers with actions that were labelled as a serious challenge to democracy. The Constitutional Court said his martial law declaration on December shocked South Koreans and created chaos in all areas of society, economy and foreign policy. Now, if convicted, Yoon could face life imprisonment or even a death penalty as well. In another news, Hong Joo-po, the ex-mayor of the South Korean city of Daegu, announced his bid for the presidency on Monday. Now, Hong, in a social media post, said he will run in the Conservative People's Party's primary. He was the presidential nominee on the Liberal Liberty Korea Party in the 2017 South Korean presidential election and came in second place during the general election, losing to Moon Jae-in. Hong ran as a candidate in the 2022 South Korean presidential election for the nomination of the Conservative People Power Party and came in second place during the primaries, narrowly losing to Yoon Suk-yeol. Now, South Korea will hold a presidential election on the 3rd of June after former President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment stemming from a December martial law declaration which was upheld on the 4th of April. United States has deported 10 individuals alleged to be gang members of El Salvador ahead of President Nayib Bukele's visit to the White House on Monday. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the deportation, stating that the individuals were part of the MS-13 and Trinduaragua gangs, which the U.S. has designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Now, this move is a part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to deport hundreds of Venezuelans to El Salvador under the 1719 Alien Enemies Act. Administration officials have repeatedly made public statements alleging that detained immigrants are gang members that they've not backed up in the court. Dozens of people in Mexico City clashed with riot police as they protest in front of the Colombian embassy to demand justice for the murder of Colombian trans woman Sara Milere. Now, 32 years old Milere Gonzalez lived in Pelo, Antigua, in the northwest of Colombia and was killed during the first weekend of April. She was tortured, suffered multiple fractures in her limbs, and was later thrown out into a ravine where she lost her life. According to the authorities, she was rescued from the water by firefighters and police and transported to the nearest hospital, but she succumbed on the 5th of April. Moving on, a small plane crash in upstate New York resulted in the deaths of 6 people. The Mitsubishi Mu-2B aircraft crashed in a muddy field in Copake near the Massachusetts state line within en route to Columbia County Airport. The The National Transportation Safety Board confirmed the fatalities, contrary to initial reports of no hospitalizations. An NTSB representative stated that recovered video footage showed the plane was intact before an impact and crashed at a high rate of descent.
Question was again about the number of people or fatalities. I can tell you that we have verified there were 6 people on board. I can say that all 6 were removed from the scene. We have no one hospitalized at this time. We have recovered and obtained at this point a video of the actual crash in the final seconds. The video, as we've seen just in the last hour, we were able to obtain a higher quality version, appears to show that the aircraft was intact and crashed at a high rate of descent into the ground.
In another similar incident, New York Helicopter Tours, the firm involved in a helicopter crash that left all 6 people on board dead on Thursday, is shutting down its operations immediately. The aircraft, whose passengers included a senior executive of Siemens, his wife and 3 children, had its last major inspection done on the 1st of March and had completed 7 tour flights before the crash, according to federal investigators, is now shutting down.
What we're seeing right now, Liz.
Now, Daniel Noboa claims victory in Ecuador presidential election. The country's election authority declared incumbent Noboa as the winner after the 37-year-old leader defeated his leftist rivals by bigger than expected margin. Supporter of incumbent President Daniel Noboa celebrating Cueto Street as he clinched victory in the presidential runoff. With 90% of the votes counted, the National Election Council said Noboa had an unassailable lead over his charismatic leftist rival Luisia Gonzalez. Noboa said that there was no doubt about his victory as he thanked the supporters. He has pledged to continue efforts to fight drug gangs and boost the struggling economy as well.
El Ecuador está cambiando.
Ecuador is changing. Ecuador has already chosen a different path, and with that path, our children will live better than we did. It will ensure that future generations have a more dignified life, a more just life, a more transparent life, a more transparent government, more transparent institutions, and progress, planning, and projection, which unfortunately in past years some were unable to achieve, and even chose to leave this country to seek their fortune elsewhere.
Suerte en otro lado.
Now, Gabon's co-leader Presoleke Anagame won the presidential election with 90.35% of votes. Provisional results confirmed this on Sunday, cementing his grip on power. Nguma's victory further solidifies his control over the country, 19 months after he ousted the Bongo family that had ruled Gabon for over 50 years. Former Prime Minister Claude Bileba-Nese, Nguma's main rival, received just 3.02% in the election, which had 8 candidates in total. Nese had served under former President Ali Bongo, who was deposed in the coup. Sudan's paramilitary force, the Rapid Support Forces, have claimed taking control of famine-hit Zamzam camp in Western Darfur following 2 days of heavy shelling and gunfire. Activists in North Darfur's besieged capital of El Fasher reported that RSF attacks on Zamzam camp have killed at least 46 civilians, including women and children, with many other victims still unidentified. Now, home to over 500,000 refugees, Zamzam has suffered greatly in the ongoing conflict between Sudan's army and the RSF. The full extent of the damage remains unclear due to internet shutdowns and communication disruptions. The RSF has denied targeting the civilians, claiming the army was using the camp as a military base and employing civilians as human shields. Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Indian Coast Guard seizes more than 300 kilograms of drugs. Up next, we'll get you celebratory visuals from across the country observing Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's 135th birth anniversary.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Trump rules out tariffs rollback, indicates new tariffs on smartphones and computers soon, says scrutinizing semiconductors and electronic supply chains as part of national security tariff investigations. Zelensky urges Donald Trump to visit Ukraine to see devastation after Russia's strike in Sumy kills 34. US President calls incident as horrible and a mistake. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of new terminal building at Hisar's Maharaja Grayson Airport in Haryana. Flags of commercial flight connecting holy city of Ayodhya. In line with his commitment to boost infrastructure and connectivity, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Haryana today, where he flagged off commercial flight from Hisar in Haryana to Ayodhya in UP. He also laid the foundation stone of the new terminal building of Hisar Airport, built at a cost of over 410 crore rupees. The Prime Minister said that the inauguration of Hisar Airport marks a significant milestone in Haryana's developmental journey, adding that it will boost regional connectivity and catalyze economic growth across the state.
जितने नए जहाज आएंगे उतनी ही ज्यादा नौकरियां पायलट के रूप में हो, एयर होस्टेस के रूप में हो, सैकड़ों नई सेवाएं भी होती है। एक जगह हवाई जहाज चलता है तब ग्राउंड स्टाफ होता है, न जाने कितने काम होता है। ऐसी अनेक सेवाओं के लिए नौजवानों को रोजगार के अवसर मिलेंगे। इतना ही नहीं, हवाई जहाज के मेंटेनेंस से जुड़ा एक बड़ा सेक्टर भी अनगिनत रोजगार बनाएगा। हिसार का ये एयरपोर्ट भी हरियाणा के नौजवानों के सपनों को नई ऊंचाई देगा। साथियों, हमारी सरकार एक तरफ कनेक्टिविटी पर बल दे रही है, दूसरी तरफ गरीब कल्याण और सामाजिक न्याय भी सुनिश्चित कर रही है।
Further, Prime Minister also inaugurated and laid the foundation stone for several development works in Yamunanagar. Among the projects for which Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation are an 800-megawatt modern thermal power unit at the Deenbandhu Chotu Ram thermal power plant and a compressed biogas plant in Yamunanagar. Prime Minister also inaugurated the Rewari bypass project under the Bharatmala Pariyojana. The nation continues to pay homage to the chief architect of India's constitution, Dr. P.R. Ambedkar, on his 135th birth anniversary today. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Thankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, And Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla paid floral tributes at the statue of Bhimrao Ambedkar in the Parliament House complex earlier today. Tributes were also paid to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar at the Central Hall of the Indian Parliament. Leaders and members of the Parliament of both the houses paid homage to the architect of the Indian Constitution and remembered his struggle for economic and social rights of women and deprived classes. So today is the birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and celebrations are underway across the national capital. At the Parliament Street, a sea of people gathered since early morning to pay tribute to the principal architect of India's constitution. The atmosphere is vibrant with cultural performances, songs and themed stalls reflecting Ambedkar's enduring legacy. TD India correspondent Dipendu Mondal brings us this ground report from the heart of the celebrations. Take a look.
India today celebrates the 135th birth anniversary of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the man who is also known as the architect of the Indian Constitution. Many also revere him as the father of the Indian Constitution, who chaired the Constituent Assembly during the time of independence when the Constitution of India was being drafted. We are here today at the Parliament Street in the national capital, New Delhi, here in India. And you can see how hundreds and millions of people are coming in to celebrate the birth anniversary of Dr. Ambedkar. And what marks this occasion so special is also about the fact that this man fought for equality and justice in the society. And these many people that you see that are making their line, in fact making their way to the statue of B.R. Ambedkar at the Parliament Street, is to show their respect for the man who fought for an equal and a just society. This area of Parliament Street is in fact being decked up, is in fact having a festive mood where people are celebrating the work and the life of B.R. Ambedkar. Today also you can see how all the central government employees, different associations of the central government employees as well as the people who respect him, have set up their stalls selling books as well as statues and also the teachings of B.R. Ambedkar to the people who have gathered here and in fact have been gathering here since morning. Like these people who have been inspired by the life and teachings of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, there are millions who follow the ideals of the man who has not only been the architect of the Indian Constitution, but also paved the way for a just and equal society in India. With camera person Uttam, this is Dipendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Well, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar donned many hats, being a social reformer to being an economist, a politician who dedicated his life for the people. Baba Saheb was also awarded the India's highest civilian honour, which is the Bharat Ratna, posthumously in the year 1990. Our next report gets you more details on this. Take a look.
Today we commemorate Ambedkar Jayanti, honouring the legacy of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, a pivotal figure in India's history and the principal architect of the Indian Constitution. Born on April 14, 1891, in Mehul, Madhya Pradesh, Ambedkar faced caste-based discrimination from an early age. Despite these challenges, he excelled academically. Ambedkar attended the government school in Mumbai and later pursued higher education at Columbia University in the United States, where he earned his PhD. His academic achievements laid the foundation for his future endeavors in law and social reform. Ambedkar's career was marked by his relentless fight against caste discrimination. He formed the Labour Party and served as the chairman of the Constitution Committee, playing a crucial role in drafting the Indian Constitution, which emphasized fundamental rights and minority protections. Ambedkar famously described Article 32 as the heart and soul of the Constitution, ensuring that citizens could seek justice in the Supreme Court. His vision extended beyond politics. He advocated for the elimination of untouchability and the caste system, believing that true progress could only be achieved through social justice. This laid the groundwork for a more equitable India, allowing citizens to pursue their dreams without the shackles of discrimination. In 1956, Ambedkar embraced Buddhism, symbolizing his rejection of the caste system and his commitment to equality and fraternity. Posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna in 1990, Dr. Ambedkar's teachings on democracy and human rights continue to inspire millions today. Sujata Lochab for DD India.
The Indian Chamber of Commerce organized the ICC Aviation and Tourism Conference 2025 in New Delhi. And the conference aimed to bring together airlines, airports and aviation stakeholders from across the world to discuss air services and contribute to global economic growth. During the event, several former administrative officials, including ex-Tourism Secretary Arvind Singh and former Air India CMD Ashwini Lohani, were honoured with the ICC Hall of Fame Award for their exceptional contribution to promoting tourism. India's Defence and Research Development Organisation, or the DRDO, carried out a successful trial of a laser-directed energy weapon system. The weapon system was tested at Andhra Pradesh's Kurnool. With the successful trial, India has joined the exclusive club of the global powers who possess the high-power laser-directed weapon system. It defeated the fixed-wing UAV and swarm drones successfully, causing structural damage and disabled the surveillance sensors.
This is a journey which has started today, which is a demonstration. What we gave you today is just the start of the journey. And with the synergy that this lab has achieved with other DRDO laboratories, industry and academia, I'm sure we'll reach our destination soon. It is the United States of America, Russia and China who have demonstrated this capability. The Israelis are also working on similar capabilities. So we, I would say, are either the fourth or the fifth country in the world to have demonstrated this system.
Now, in an operation on 12 and 13th of April, Indian Coast Guard undertook an intelligence-based anti-narcotics operation at sea jointly with the Gujarat ATS. More than 300 kilograms of narcotics worth approximately 1,800 crore rupees has been seized. The seized drugs suspected to be methamphetamine. Based on the credible international input of ATS, the ICG ship identified a suspect boat despite pitch dark night. On realizing the approaching ICG ship, the suspect boat dumped its narcotics as consignment in sea before it started fleeing towards the international maritime boundary line. The alert ICG ship deployed its seabot immediately for recovery of the jettisoned consignment, whilst commencing a hot chase of the suspect boat. The seized narcotics has been brought to Porbandar by the ICG ship for further investigations. Now, people across the northeastern state of Assam are celebrating Rungali Bihu, also known as Bohag Bihu, marking the onset of the Assamese New Year. The festival, that usually spans 7 days and is popularly called as Sat Bihu, begins today with Gori Bihu, a day dedicated to honouring the cattle, particularly the cows. Communities come together in large numbers, singing and dancing to folk tunes, symbolizing the start of the paddy cultivation season. People exchange greetings, visit loved ones and present the traditional gamocha, a hand-woven Assamese shawl, to dear ones as a token of love and respect on the occasion. Vishu is also being observed across the southern Indian state of Kerala, marking the onset of Metham, the first month of the Malayalam solar calendar. For the people of Kerala, the Malayalis around the globe, Vishu is a time of hopeful beginnings, divine rituals and vibrant family traditions. The festival coincides with the spring equinox, when day and night are of nearly equal length, with the word Vishu in Sanskrit meaning equal. Puthandu, the Tamil New Year, also is being celebrated in southern India's Tamil Nadu. Puthandu is a time of renewal, hope and joyful celebrations for Tamil communities across the world. Observed on the first day of the Tamil month of Chitrai, the festival, also known as Varusha Pirappu and Puthurushiram. According to ancient scriptures, Lord Brahma initiated the creation of the universe on the auspicious day of Puthandu. And Bangladesh is celebrating Pehla Baishakh, which is the Bengali New Year, with traditional enthusiasm. The day began with a performance by a cultural group, Chayanot, at Ramna Park in Dhaka, featuring classical songs, Rabindra Sangeet and poetry recitals. The celebration symbolizes the inclusive and joyful culture of the Bengali people, with people from all walks of life participating in the event. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. Medical specialists in Mongolia have introduced new endoscopic surgery to treat spinal cord underdevelopment who can cause loss of mobility. The procedure, developed at the Sports Injury Center, targets chronic spinal instability and deformities, offering a solution to both congenital and injury-related conditions. So far, 4 patients aged 21 to 25 have undergone the surgery with positive results. North Korea's capital Pyongyang hosted a photo exhibition highlighting the city's recent transformations and infrastructure developments on Sunday. Over 380 photographs showcasing both the past and present of Pyongyang were on display. North Koreans attended the opening ceremony and explored the exhibition at the Okryu Exhibition Center. Thousands of revelers, including foreign tourists, flooded Bangkok's Hosan Road on Sunday to celebrate Thailand's traditional New Year. Armed with plastic water guns, they joyfully splashed water and danced in the sweltering heat, with temperatures soaring to 36 degrees Celsius. Despite a recent earthquake in neighboring Myanmar, tourists felt safe, and Thailand's tourism ministry remained optimistic about meeting its 2025 target of 38 million visitors. Pop icon Katy Perry, journalist Gayle King and Jeff Bezos' fiancée Lauren Sanchez are set to launch into space aboard a Blue Origin rocket on Monday. The launch is scheduled for 1400 GMT from Blue Origin's West Texas launch site. The mission consists of the first all-female flight crew in more than 6 decades. Blue Origin's 59-foot New Shepard rocket will take the crew to the Kármán line, marking the boundary of space. Passengers will experience a few minutes of microgravity before returning to Earth via parachute-assisted landing in the West Texas desert. Now, this marks the 11th human flight of the New Shepard rocket and the first all-female space flight since Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova's 1963 mission. Time to take a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Up next, we'll get you all the latest update on global market reactions at the current hour. In cricket, Lucknow Super Giants all set to face Chennai Super Kings in Indian Premier League at Ikana Stadium. And Rory McIlroy secures his place in golf history as the 6th player to claim the career Grand Slam.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now let's get you business updates. Asian markets rebounded on Monday and Europe looked set to follow after the White House eased tensions by exempting smartphones and computers from new US tariffs. S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures climbed over 1%, while European futures also rose, with Euro Stoxx 50 gaining 2.5%. MSCI's Asia Pacific Index bounced back 1.5% after steep losses last week. Japanese and Chinese markets saw modest gains, particularly among Apple suppliers. Meanwhile, the US dollar weakened further and gold surged to a record $3,245 per ounce. Oil prices continued to dip amid global slowdown fears and rising supply. Key economic data from the US and China are due this week, along with a major speech by Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Singapore downgraded its economic growth forecast for the year 2025, citing an impact of rising US-China trade tensions and the US tariffs. The country's economy grew 3.8% in the first quarter, which is slower than the previous quarter's 5%, and the government now expects growth to range from 0 to 2%, down from an earlier forecast of 1 to 3%. With the ongoing US-China trade war and tariffs affecting global trade, Singapore's Ministry of Trade and Industry warned that both US and China's weakened growth outlooks would have a broader negative impact on global demand, especially in Asia. And now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with cricket first, Lucknow Super Giants will look forward to capitalize on Chennai's struggles and strengthen its top 4 spot when the two sides clash in the Indian Premier League match at the Ekana Cricket Stadium on Monday. Fourth place resurgent Lucknow, who won just 1 in the first 3 matches, are heading into the contest with 3 confident back-to-back victories. Chennai, meanwhile, are the wooden spoon holders in the last place with just 1 victory in 6 matches. Apart from poor performance with both bat and ball, Chennai also saw their captain Ruturaj Gaikwad being ruled out of the tournament due to an elbow injury. On the other hand, MS Dhoni took over the captaincy reins midway throughout the tournament. However, the change in captaincy did not make any significant improvement in Chennai's performance, who scored their lowest total at Chepauk Stadium during the match against Kolkata Knight Riders. Now, even though with a weakened bowling lineup with multiple injury concerns, Lucknow Super Giants still look settled with their bowling attack. If you talk about batting, apart from Rishabh Pant, everyone has fired and contributed to the team's cause. The host will most likely play their settled playing 11 for the match against Chennai Super Kings today as well. In soccer, host Chicago Fire held Inter Miami to a surprising goalless draw in their Major League Soccer encounter on Monday. Inter Miami goalkeeper Oscar and Chicago's Chris Brady emerged as the stars of the game with crucial saves. For Inter Miami, it was their second consecutive draw in league following a dramatic comeback victory over Los Angeles in the CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals on Wednesday. Now, currently, Inter Miami is placed 4th in the MLS points table, while Chicago is sitting at the 8th position. In golf, Rory McIlroy defeated Justin Rose at the Masters on Sunday to become the 6th player and first European to complete the career Grand Slam of golf's 4 majors. McIlroy squandered a 4-shot lead on the back 9 during a regulation and wasted no time in the playoff. McIlroy was making his 11th attempt at completing the Grand Slam, and the feat marked a crowning achievement in his career and delivered his first major title since August 2014. Well, McIlroy has had a decorated career with 28 PGA Tour titles and 18 World Tour titles. His major victories include a US Open title in 2011, PGA titles in 2012 and 2014, along with the Masters title in 2025. In chess, Magnus Carlsen overcame Hikaru Nakamura to take 1-0 lead in the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam finale on Monday. The matchup pitched the world's top 2 players against each other, and it was the Norwegian who landed the first blow. Carlsen sacrificed a pawn on move 4, and despite a spirited Nakamura effort, Carlsen went on to win the first game of the final. He is now just a draw away from the title and the $200,000 prize money. The Paris tournament is the second stop off on the multi-million-dollar freestyle chess Grand Slam tour, offering $750,000 in total prize money, with $200,000 to be awarded to the eventual champion on Tuesday. And before we go, we take you to Belgium, where 35 top chocolatiers showcase their Easter creations inspired by Art Deco. From architectural replicas to laser animated eggs, it was a sugar-coated celebration of style. Standing 50 to 60 centimeters tall, these edible masterpieces were displayed on chick plinths at a fancy Brussels hotel. Visitors could meet the chefs behind the treats and admire the Art Deco style that blends nature, curves and industrial charm. The exhibit marks 100 years since architect Victor Horta helped shape the movement in Brussels. With each piece priced at €750, all proceeds will go to the Hospital of St. Pierre. Sweets, art for a great cause indeed. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from the country and the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.